Right then, welcome back to Iron Sports. Now, in last week's edition of Iron Sports, we discussed Supreme Ventures Racing and Entertainment Limited proposal to keep the Breeders' Bonus only for certain races in the Overnight and Allowance Open categories, as well as Grade 1 stakes and all maiden and condition races for 2- and 3-year-olds. Well, we continue this discussion in this week's edition with the president of the Thoroughbred Owners and Breeders Association of Jamaica, TOBA, Howard Hamilton, as well as executive chairman of Supreme Ventures Racing and Entertainment Limited, Michael Bernard, who was a champion breeder himself as well. And we also have Spencer Darlington, our in-house analyst, who joins us on Iron Sports this evening. Welcome, gentlemen, to Iron Sports. Mr. Bernard, let me start with you, because you weren't here last week, so I'm going to have you take first bat. Why the changes to the why the proposals in terms of the changes to the bonuses? First up.
Well, Supreme Ventures Racing and Entertainment Limited has been operated over the Caymanas racetrack for just under a year now. Having been appointed executive chairman in December of last year and preparing our budget for 2018, we looked at the state of affairs, so to speak, and how we should proceed during the year, considering the fact that we suffered significant losses in our first year. We decided to look at how we can best realign expenses and in so doing be able to at least begin the process of ensuring the viability of the racetrack and racing in Jamaica. And having done so, we made proposals to reduce the purses to one category of stakeholder, which is the two breeders. And with that, we had a few races that we decided that it would make sense for us to remove the breeders' bonus. In that process, what we did was we sent a letter to TOBA indicating our intention and a date for implementation, giving in that same letter an opportunity for TOBA to meet with us and to discuss that. TOBA had a meeting of the directors and invited us to a meeting, which we attended, and then out of that came some further communication and discussion. Let
me chime in here. Based on the discussions you had with TOBA, we know you met earlier this month as well. What is the latest, though? Have you spoken with members of TOBA? I know Mr. Hamilton is here to answer to that also. So what has been the latest since you met with TOBA?
Okay, we met with TOBA 2 Mondays ago, primarily to agree to incentives to take the government to provide additional subsidy or support for the breeding industry. We subsequently met with the Jamaica Racing Commission to discuss our proposal, and coming out of that, we have an agreement with the JRC that we would submit our recommended changes, our proposed changes, when we do submit our April 2018 to March 2019 set of purses and races for their approval.
All right, and so after all these talks, it remains at March 1 still, in terms of the proposals taking effect? Let's get that clear.
No, it would not effectively be March 1 because the program that we'll be sending to the Racing Commission would be for the period April 1, 2018 to March 31, 2019. And so the proposed changes would be in that set of races and purses for that coming year. And of note is that the JRC is responsible for providing approval or sanctioning of a program. And that period will be from April 1, 2018 to March 31, 2019.
All right, let me bring in Sir Hamilton now. Sir Hamilton, based on what Mr. Bernard just said, are you maintaining your stance, being against the proposals, and does the extension of additional time make more room, you think, to have further discussions?
Thank you very much for having us again. Since we last spoke, Jeremy, nothing has changed. We remain adamant that it is totally unacceptable to the racing industry and to the breeders to have the incentives removed from the breeding industry, which is already decimated. And to me, it's a nonsense situation where a promoting company needs horses for their programs, and at the same time they're turning around and making it impossible or difficult for those horses to be produced. That to me makes absolutely no sense. And it proves the lack of knowledge of the industry and a total misunderstanding of how the industry is structured. And we will refuse to accept any reduction in payment to the breeders. The word bonus is probably a misnomer. It should be payment to breeders for the production of horses. And we will not accept any reduction in those payments.
Right. Spencer, you are our man on the ground there at Caymanas Park. What is the feedback with this latest salvo between the two parties here?
Well, first of all, Jermaine, what SVRL has proposed is not unprecedented. When you look at other racing jurisdictions, you will see different applications in terms of how bonuses are applied. At Aqueduct, for example, bonuses are paid to horses, owners of horses which are bred in New York. I think one of the problems I detect, though, Jermaine, is a breakdown in communication between these two major stakeholders. And it would appear, based on what I would have heard before from Mr. Hamilton, that his group would have been caught off guard when at the time they were notified. So probably some more discussions could have gone into this. And as Mr. Bernard is now saying, they will put things in a formal manner to be sent to the regulatory body, the Jamaica Racing Commission. So probably all those could have been done before. And,
you know, Mr. Bernard is here to definitely speak on behalf of Supreme Ventures Racing and Entertainment. So, Mr. Bernard, we understand that TOBA sent some counter proposals, if I should put it that way. What is the official response by SVL to this?
What we received from TOBA was communication highlighting the state of the breeding industry, which we acknowledge, and we also received a set of recommendations that in no way met the objectives of the plans that we have. What we had was a set of recommendations that include the following. Number one, to reduce the takeout from the punter's dollar that the promoter takes from what is currently 31% to a lesser figure than that. We can't see how at this point in time that would help the situation. Still yet to be analyzed. We also had a recommendation that says that we should reduce the number of horses per race to a maximum of 12. Something to be analyzed.
Right.
We also had a recommendation to eliminate Wednesday race day and increase the number of race days to include Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Again, with the horse population as it would be questionable as to how that would be accomplished. Fourthly, we got a recommendation to look at the handicapping versus the claiming system, something that we think is worthy of looking at. And the last thing we had was a recommendation that says, why don't you look at the 10% that is paid to jockeys, the 15% that's paid to trainers, and the 5% that's paid to grooms that exists else. It does not exist in other jurisdictions to the level that it exists in Jamaica. We found none of those actually being able to appropriately address the needs that we have, and in a sense, really, we indicated to TOBA that they did not. We invited TOBA to come and sit with us, nevertheless, to have a discussion with respect to how do we go ahead and put together ideas to take to government to seek additional support for the breeding industry. And we had that meeting. Unfortunately, we had no recommendation from TOBA that we could take, but nevertheless, we have some ideas that we will take, and we hope that TOBA will be in support of them. I must say that when we did indicate to TOBA what is it that we had in mind, and TOBA said, well, if you can go ahead and get that done, then certainly do that and come back and
what
talk
would
to
that
us.
be? What would some of those?
Those are recommendations that look at seeking additional support for the breeding industry. And at this point in time, before we actually take them forward, I would not want to really make them public without giving the authority that we'll be seeking to address the opportunity to hear them.
Sir Hamilton, the approach from that meeting, is it one that you're willing to work with? Or is it a case where, once again, we'll see communication breaking down?
The cart has gone before, or the horse has gone before the cart. The request for discussion has come much too late. I'm not saying that there's not room for discussion moving on, but until that direction is rescinded, we don't see any reason or any purpose for us having any further discussion with the promoting company at this time.
Oh,
Our position remains unmoved. We are not accepting a reduction in the breeders' bonus. That remains our position. And whatever action needs to be taken to prevent them from doing that, you can rest assured that the racing fraternity, including the jockeys, the grooms, the trainers, the farriers, the veterinarians, will be taking such a decision to protect the racing industry. A racing industry without a strong breeders' industry is nothing that can work. Unless you have a strong breeders industry, you have no racing industry. And any move to weaken that industry is a nonsense move, and we're not putting up with it, because we wish to see a strong racing industry, we wish to see a viable racing industry, and we're going to do everything, in spite of racing promotion, in spite of Supreme Ventures Limited, we're going to do everything to make sure that that industry is viable and remains there for the public to enjoy and for the social interaction which it provides.
You don't think this is too hard line?
Well, their position has been a hard line too, you know. Their position has been non-negotiable.
All right. Well, we will see how best we can continue negotiations here on Iron Sports when we come back from this break. Stay with us.